Over to you, Andy.
Thanks very much, Janice. Well, welcome everyone today. As I said, we've got the founding director and chair of Pickleball England with us today, Karen Mitchell. Welcome and thanks for being with us this morning with your coffee cup.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, not a problem at all. So, how this came about is I'm the chair of a local village club, and we're looking to start and trial pickleball at our club. We haven't got space for a paddle court, but like most clubs, we're trying to sort of diversify what we offer, offering flexible memberships at the moment, and trying to attract new players to our club. It started and happened with walking tennis. Only one of the walking tennis members that we've got played sort of a tennis at our club before. So we've got 15 new people at our club that we wouldn't have normally. And we're hoping to attract in the same way people to pickleball and to our tennis club in the same way. So we just like to hear about what pickleball can offer tennis clubs. And we'd like to start with a bit about yourself and how you got into pickleball, if that's okay, Karen.
Of course. I don't come from a sporty background at all, actually. I worked in business, and my exercise was aerobics and Zumba latterly. And line dancing. So, anything with music was what I like to do. But in 2015, I was putting my bins out and I saw my neighbours walking up the road looking very sporty, and they were in their 70s. So I asked them what they were going to do, and they said, pickleball. And I said, pickle what? And then they asked me to come along and have a look at the village hall and put a paddle in my hand. And I was instantly hooked. And I think I was instantly hooked because it reminded me of playing as a child, either just bat and ball or swing ball, when I was in my teenage years. And I just connected with my inner child, basically. So I played for the rest of that session, and I went back the following week and the following week. And the rest is history. Now, what I didn't know that first day was that I was playing on a small court. It was a village hall, and the court had been adapted so that they could play there. And it was only when I went to my first tournament with my now husband, that we discovered that pickleball was actually played on a badminton-sized court. And believe you me, that difference in size made a hell of a difference, at that first tournament. But once we realized that we were playing on a small court, we decided that we ought to start something locally on a full-size court. So we started a pay-to-play exercise, really. We negotiated with the local sports centre that people would just turn up and play. We would teach them how to play, and they would get all the profits. We didn't want any hassle of money or anything like that. We didn't really want any big responsibilities, and that's what we did. And now we've got about probably 150 players that rotate around seven sessions a week. I actually, because of Pickleball England, don't get to go very often. I probably, if I'm once a week, it's lucky. It's probably more like once or twice a month. But it's still thriving because there are so many people that go, and there's a real community that's been built through the pay-to-play sessions as well. So that's one model that we have for pickleball, and I'll come on to the other ones as we go on. But that's my history with pickleball, except for when we were at a tournament in Spain, I think it was, in 2018. The players were lamenting that there wasn't a national governing body that had the support of the players. There were a couple that had tried but didn't have the support of the players. And so they were sort of like talking about different people who could potentially start the national governing body, and everyone started looking at me, and I'm thinking, what's going on here? And I think it might have been a bit of a stitch up, actually, because some people had seen my profile on LinkedIn and realized that new product development and marketing was in my background, and thought that might be helpful for starting a national governing body. I was lucky that I'd been introduced around the same time to a gentleman called Frank Arico, who had governance experience, had worked on many committees, but other sports. So he had sporting and governance experience. And he was similarly being stitched up by players. So we decided to throw our lot in together and start. Originally, they were asking us to do UK pickleball, but we knew that Scotland were starting their own organisation, and we didn't want to go in competition. So we decided to make it Pickleball England. That way, you know, it was confined to the people that we knew. There were only about 1,000 players in the whole country at this point. And I'm glad that we made that decision because, you know, now there's a thriving Scottish organisation. There's the English one, and now there's also a Welsh one. So no doubt at some point in the future there'll be a Northern Ireland one as well. So I said there were about 1,000 players then. Since then, we've got now probably 45,000 players. That number is corroborated by the active live survey that Sport England do once a year. They estimated that as of November last year, there was about 41,000. And at that time, we were estimating 40,000. We now estimate 45,000. So it really is growing very, very rapidly.
Yeah, I agree. Just talking to the coaches, clubs, and the venues that we've got out there. So many. I went to a club forum yesterday, and 3 of those clubs out of the 11 said that they were going to start pickleball up. And in fact, one of the clubs I think said that they offer pay and play. And someone had booked their tennis court and turned up with their throwdown lines and their pickleball bats and sort of just carried on playing pickle on the tennis court as booking a tennis court. So that's how sort of popular it started to become, especially at the tennis clubs in Kent. So yeah, do you want the slides put up, Karen, at this point? Would that help?
Yeah, that would be great if you don't mind.
Yeah, okay. Janice, if you don't mind. We're just while Janice is doing that, Karen, at our club, we're actually we've held fire on doing resurfacing on our courts at the moment. We've got 2 and 3 hard courts, and we were going to resurface our 3 hard courts to clay, but we've sort of purposely put a hold on it at the moment because we are introducing pickleball. I think a couple of people have mentioned that will the pickleball bounce on artificial clay? Have you ever came across that before?
I don't think it will bounce well enough for an
No,
artificial
no.
clay, actually.
Yes,
Asphalt or acrylic are the best surfaces for pickleball. It can be played on a very short astroturf, but it's not ideal.
yeah,
You know, so
yeah.
we're
So
actually sorry.
we started up sort of pickleball, and we just sort of held fire on the clay for now, just so people have got like an informed decision that if they do want to continue with pickleball, the clay might not be the best surface for it. So yeah, no, thanks.
Right.
Right, there we go.
So yeah, this is my presentation for you. When I spoke to Andy, he said that you guys might like to know a little bit of a history of pickleball, the rules. And actually, I just realized I didn't edit something on this page. I've got health benefits and then I've got experience with MS. That was from a presentation to the MS Society. So I apologize for missing that. And some bit more information about Pickleball England. Would you mind moving to the next slide? I'm not going to read all of this slide, don't worry. But Andy can or Janice can distribute this to people. Maybe I'll just send you another one with the MS bit taken out, actually. But you know, otherwise it can be distributed. So pickleball was invented in 1965 on Bainbridge Island in Washington State in the US. Really slow burner though. So it was about 2 years before padel, but a really slow burner. The origins are that it was a family who had got a badminton court, but they didn't have badminton rackets, they didn't have shuttlecocks, but they had various other sporting paraphernalia there. So they ended up with like table tennis bats, which are wooden bats. They had a wiffle ball, which has got holes in it, and they had a tennis-like net. So over the course of a few days, they invented pickleball, and the idea was that there were adults and children playing together, and they wanted to make sure that the rules didn't advantage the adults over the children, so that they weren't disadvantaged. So that's why it's an underarm serve. The ball has to bounce on the opposite side, and then it has to bounce the other side as well before it can be volleyed. The idea being you starting a rally before anyone wins a point. That's the idea. But it literally was just the family and then the family's friends that were playing it for a long time. And around Washington State, a few permanent pickleball courts started to appear within a couple of years. But it was really 1975 that the first real flourishing of it going further within the state itself, Washington itself, with an article in a newspaper. And at that point, it started to spread further. It was 1984 before USA Pickleball Association was created. That's the forerunner to the current USA Pickleball Association, which was actually rebranded, I think, in 2020, something like that, or 21. And it started to really take hold outside of the US, probably from around 2002, when Florida got hold of pickleball, and they had a championship there in the Villages in Florida. And the Villages, if you're not aware, is where people go to retire. And so it's people 50 plus that were starting to play this game. And in fact, they started to lay lots of pickleball courts in each of the villages. And therefore, people who would go on holiday to the villages would see it being played, take it up, and then bring it back to their country. And that is how it expanded to go worldwide. And it's in over 100 countries now. It got over here to the UK in 2010, I think it was. I know it says 2011 there, but I actually met up with the people who brought it to the village hall that I play in. And when I interviewed them, they said it was 2010, whereas 2011. So at my village hall, the Short Court, was one of the first places playing pickleball over here. Pickleball England started in 2019, and that was around the same time as that there were 748 tournaments listed in the USA. So it had grown by like wildfire across the country, and at that point it was so hot. There were, as in, everyone wanted to play, that there were tournaments every weekend. In many states, so that you could just choose where you wanted to go on holiday for a tournament and play pickleball. This is growing so rapidly that it was in 2022 that the sport was named the official sport of Washington State, where it was invented. For us, on our history, as I said, we started in 2019. We've got a board made up of 3 national directors and 7 regional directors. We actually had an SGM last week, not this weekend, just one, but the one before, where we proposed a restructure, and that restructure will enable us to have a board of directors made up of national directors and a regional director committee. So that we can actually have a committee that's focused on growth, and a committee that's focused on fueling the growth and having the structure in place and things like that. So we'll be making some changes over the next several months. Everyone is a volunteer. We've got 1 contractor at the moment. We're hoping that our restructure will enable us to create enough funds to be able to hire a few people over time. But even though we were recognised by Sport England in December, there's no funding that comes with that. So we're under our own devices. And the way that we actually create our funding at the moment is we put on events that we get a surplus from through sponsorship, etc. And we also have regional leagues that create a surplus, and we have a curriculum, a pickleball curriculum, and we obviously make a bit of a surplus on that as well. So there are 3 funding sources currently. Globally, we think that there are over 35 million to 40 million players globally now. And in the USA alone, they had a 46% increase in 2024, so that they reckon that there's nearly 20 million people playing there. Now, that's the SFIA report, which is the equivalent of the Sport England report that I quoted for England. However, some of the professional tours have done some research, and they estimate it's over 35 million people playing in the USA. So, you know, massive. And here's another data point for you. There are over 500 pickleball paddle manufacturers. So, you know, where there is growth, there's also people wanting to get in on that growth. And actually, I would say that that's the only issue that pickleball has right now, that everyone wants to control pickleball and, you know, make money out of it, really, I think.
Yeah. Is it going to be an Olympic sport? Do you think it will be an Olympic sport soon?
Well, I'd like to think that it could be an Olympic sport. It's definitely got a lot of the attributes that would be really useful for the Olympics, you know, but it has to have one international governing body. And at the moment, there are 3. 2 of them are merging. They've got a meeting coming up in June to get the members to agree to that merger. But the third one it doesn't want to collaborate and merge, so I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
So could I go to the next slide, please? Sorry, Janice, can you go to the next slide?
Are we there, Janice? Oh. There we go. I'm full screen.
So pickleball, I've talked about you know, its origins and the fact that it's a plastic ball with a composite paddle nowadays that is hit over a net. You've got these sections on the left-hand side of a court. The court, as I said, is a badminton-sized court, which is slightly different to a mini tennis court. And we've got some drawings on our website that show that you can either get 4 pickleball courts on a large tennis court or 2 on the smaller tennis court. I think the difference is international court versus regular courts, right? And it's very easy just to set up a temporary lines one. So I think that's how most of the tennis clubs that now play pickleball started. They put down temporary lines, mark them up. If you put a few little tees on the tennis court, they don't, you know, cause any problems, but it's easier for lining the court when you want to use them. And, you know, very easy to lay down. So the other thing about pickleball is that the basic rules are so easy. I said earlier that you underarm serve, so that's easy enough. It can actually be either an underarm serve where you drop the ball onto the paddle, or you can just literally drop the ball and hit the serve off of the bounce. Either way is fine. And so if I'm serving from the right service area, you serve to the left service area on the opposite side. side, so the opposite quadrant, and it has to clear the non-volley zone line. So it has to clear, it can't be on the line. It has to go into the quadrant on the opposite side. Bounces before it's being hit, and then goes back to the serving team, and it has to bounce before it can be volleyed. And then you can volley, except for you can't be in the non-volley zone. So you can volley from outside the zone, or you can let it bounce and go in and hit the ball, but you just can't volley within the zone. And when I said earlier about trying to make the game fair, the reason for that non-volley zone is because adults could reach in and volley with their long arms, but children couldn't. So they made that area long enough so that it doesn't really give a benefit to adults unless you are 7 foot tall with really long arms. And so they are the key rules, and it really is simple to learn. We've got a Pickleball Leaders certification program, which shows people how to teach in the best way, starting from the importance of warm-up, grip, how to do all the different shots that you do. But playing a game, you can be playing within 20 to 30 minutes and getting really quite a bit of success. And that is the beauty of the game. It makes it fun for all ages. Intergenerational play is fabulous, which is how it was originally created. But even though it's easy to play, it is really hard to master. And that's what keeps you coming back. You want to get better. You can get better. And with a bit of coaching, can definitely get better. And then the best play is when you're playing in pods of people of your same ability, because you're then challenging each other and, really getting into some firefights. And the faster the game is played, the more exciting it is, but easy to get success right from the get-go, which is why it's perfect for children and older adults, as well as every age, to be honest.
Yes. Is there different weights of balls as well? I'm conscious that we are in a sort of windy country over here. So is there a different weight of ball to play outside to inside?
No, well, there is a slight difference. In the ball that we play with outside, it's got 40 holes, and an indoor ball has got 26. So actually, I think the outdoor ball is lighter because it's got more holes than the indoor ball. If it's, I play on our court. We say that we're willing to play up to sort of like 15, 16 mile an hour winds, and gusts make it more exciting, to be honest. So, when you see that ball suddenly, go out or come in, so it looks like it's going out, but suddenly comes in because of the wind. It's so much fun, right? So,
or being dragged into the non-volley zone or something like that, where the ball suddenly drops dead in front of you.
In terms of playing the game, most games are to 11, win by 2. We do have variations of that, rally scoring, which is when you score, or it doesn't have to be on your serve, because actually on the regular scoring, you only get a point with your serve. With rally scoring, it's whoever wins the point gets the point. We can vary it from games to, in fact, some groups, when they're over extended, in fact, they've got too many people and you want to get people rotating on the court quickly, they play to 7 just to get the games done quickly. What else can I say? I think that's probably the main rules. One of the things that we really are focused on for now is wheelchair and adaptive pickleball, because we say this is an inclusive sport, and because it's a smaller court than a tennis court, we think that it's really ideal for wheelchair and adaptive. And we've been doing wheelchair events at our tournaments for the last 3 years, and they're getting more popular. And just a fun fact for you, the Invictus Games are going to include pickleball for the first time when it's in Birmingham in 2027. So we're going to be gearing up, working with the Invictus Games people to get more and more people that have been in the services to play pickleball so that it can be included in 2027. Can we go to the next slide, Janice?
Yeah, I don't know why my buttons don't seem to be working very easily. Now I'm trying to do escape and it's still not working. It's still not working when I go to press. Oh, there we are. So I have to go back to the...
I'm not going to go through all of this, but we do believe that pickleball can really complement Sport England's mission to get people moving. The reason being is that it's exercise without realizing you're exercising. So when I started pickleball, I'd been doing Zumba and line dancing, and so I was exercising. But what I didn't realize is I wasn't doing stretches like that I can get from pickleball. Just bending over to pick up that ball, I realized that my maximus glutamus hadn't been exercised quite like pickleball for a long, long time, because that area really ached the next day. And Tyson McGuffin, who's a pro player, he went along to a park and saw people playing pickleball, and he said, "Oh, can I join in?" And some 70-year-olds taught him how to play, and they kept beating him. So he wanted one more game, one more game. He couldn't believe these 70-year-olds could beat him. Anyway, he didn't beat them that day. He went back several times before that he actually beat them. But what he said after that first day was about his maximus glutamus muscles really, really aching. So you definitely can stretch, as well as get gentle exercise. I say it's gentle, it's at your pace, and that's the important thing. If someone's on the sofa at the moment and doesn't exercise, they can do as much as they can do, you know, right from the get-go, and build it up over time. And there are lots of stories in pickleball about people who have lost a lot of weight, or that have just found that they weren't useless at games as they thought they were, and just, you know, have become quite competitive, and, you know, things like that. And so, you know, exercise made easy, which also helps for your flexibility and balance, your heart, improved muscle strength. And then the other pieces that I really would like to focus on is easy to learn, fun for all ages. And that's the piece. We don't take ourselves too seriously. We really don't. It's about having fun. And if you're having fun, you want to go back, right? It's fairly low participation costs. It's definitely socially inclusive. The people you meet that you would not ordinarily meet through pickleball, and, you know, very welcoming. And the one thing that has struck me so much when I've spoken to people with Parkinson's or MS, as well as people who are getting a little bit, you know, on in their age, is how they feel that playing pickleball has helped them with their memory development and reactions. Things that they thought they'd lost, they actually have gained back again through playing pickleball. So it's just a good all-round sport, as is tennis, I know. In fact, tennis is a bigger workout and all the rest of it. And when I'm talking about pickleball here, I am not trying to, you know, denigrate tennis. It's a great game, you know, and long may they both last, right? So anything that gets people up to play is the key thing, right?
Yeah, no, I see this sport, you know, attracting people to tennis clubs, and it could be as simple as spending money behind the bar. You know, it could be a pathway of people playing pickleball first of all, then going on to play tennis, and it could be a way of keeping your tennis players that feel that they can't play tennis anymore still at your club playing pickleball. As I said, not everybody.
And let's remember. Yeah, and let's remember that lots of people play multiple sports. You know, there's several clubs at our club that plays tennis, paddle, and pickleball, and the skills are, you know, transferable. They, you know, I noticed that one of our guys that played tennis and pickleball, when he started playing padel, he brought something new to his pickleball game. You know, so very interchangeable, very transferable skills. And, you know, who are we to say to people what to play? Play what you enjoy, right?
Yeah, yeah. And the LTA registration, that includes the insurance for pickleball, which is good. And obviously, then you're covered with your safeguarding advice with the LTA registration with pickleball as well, which is great.
Yeah. Next page. I did leave this one in deliberately because this is one of the things that, you know, really melts my heart, actually. And it's the case studies of people who have, you know, found that they've got autoimmune conditions over time, and what they say about pickleball helping them forget about it whilst they're on the court. There's something about it that allows them just to, their brain seems to click in when they get onto the court that they can play. So when they look sluggish outside, they then actually still can play on court. And I've witnessed this for myself, and, you know, it's pretty amazing. But the reason that this is possible, I think, is that the game has been created in such a way that power is not the dominating thing. It's about placement. So as long as you've got hand-eye coordination, you know, you can play this game. And we've got a Deaf Action Pickleball group at the moment, or Deaf Pickleball Action Group, DPAG, who are growing pickleball significantly around the country. And what we've actually decided to do is we're now capturing whether or not people have got, whether they're deaf or they've got other disabilities when they register, so that we can actually design things for these different groups to help them over time. So, you know, we're definitely leaning into this area of helping more people be active, even when they think that they can't be active anymore, you know, because of conditions. So again, I'm not going to read this, but I'm just giving you the cliff note, in that it's something that is very special about this game.
Yes.
Sport England actually provided some, you can go to the next page, Janice, if you like. Sport England actually provided some funding for a club in Hertfordshire to set up a Parkinson's series. So I think it was 6 weeks. I haven't seen the results of it, so just literally just finished. But they funded the sessions to be put on and to see whether or not people would turn up and play, and what the results are. So you know, Sport England want to help this group as well. So these are our details. The map up there on the right hand side, I did a screen print of that yesterday. That's what our map looks like. You can see that there's quite a bit of gap in Kent, actually. It has been growing, and actually the growth in Kent is mainly with tennis clubs, because there aren't so many leisure centres in Kent as there are in other parts of the world, or with space for pickleball. But the growth has just recently been coming from tennis centres. We've got several county representatives in Kent, and what they are happy to do is to do taster sessions. So, you know, come along with their gear, nets and paddles, and do taster sessions for your members, or, you know, for an open day for you to attract people to come in. They've done several of those. There's one happening this week in Orpington in Kent, I think. And, you know, we're quite happy to help people get off the ground. And we've then got other resources and help that we can provide ongoing as well. So this is our information to reach out. And, you know, we're happy to help anyone set up pickleball. And if you do, we wish you great success, because I think it'll be fantastic for attracting new people to your clubs.
Yeah, no, thank you. So if a tennis club wants to register a site here, they can contact you, and you'll put them on your system.
Yeah, so if you go to pickleballengland.org, there's a menu at the top and it says membership, and there's a choice for individual or club. Click on the club, and the individual who's registering will actually have to be a member to do that registration, just so we've got a contact point. But you don't have to have your information on the website. You register yourself, and then it's the club information you put in, and that's what would be onto the website. The great thing about our new tool that we've just implemented is that you can actually update your sessions and your information yourself. And if it is successful and you want to add sessions, you can add the sessions. And we've got clubs that have gone to multiple venues that are just adding venues over time as well. So the club locator tool is probably one of the most valuable things that we've got, because it signposts people to new places to play.
Excellent. Yeah, I did know there's a club in Kent that's a grass court club only. Not many of those left, but they've just started playing pickleball in their village hall to keep the members ticking over, so to speak, in the winter months, which I thought was a fantastic idea. So, they shut down their grass courts in September. They're in the village hall playing pickleball, and then they're back on a grass court in April and May. So fantastic, yeah.
Great idea, yeah.
No, great. So if you go back to the full screen again, Janice, if that's okay. I think that's the end of the presentation.
It is, yeah.
So just out of interest, is there any clubs here that are already playing pickleball? Just a hand up if that's okay.
We've got a trial coming up on the 24th in Orpington at the Knoll.
Oh, that's the one that I just referenced. Yes, okay.
Right, okay. That's at Knoll, Tony, is it?
Yes, that's right.
Right, okay, all right, fine. Thanks very much for that, Karen. But any questions now for Karen, if that's okay?
I've got one, Irene. Well, it's not a question. Karen, you know Daryl,
Yes.
our pickleball coach. We've had an amazing time with pickle. We started it in about May last year. We went indoors, which is something interesting for you to think about in the winter, because obviously we're an outdoor club, and that we were playing, like 40 people were able to play pickle over 4 sessions a week, so it's generated a nice bit of income for us at the first quarter of the year. We're now back on outdoor. It's a little bit turbulent for us because I think there's a little bit of a challenge around people wanting to play back outdoor, and we've had to fit back in with the program. So when obviously the halls that are back open again in July, because it's schools and halls and exams, etc. So when we go back in July, we're going to go back to the Monday night and the Thursday night again, which were really popular. So we've probably got about maybe 600 people that have joined us and played pickle with us since last night. And there's probably about 50 to 100 hardcore. And we've now got a membership going for pickle. And the only reason we did it, Karen, was because the hard courts, we had nobody playing on there on down times. So we put the lines on, and as you said, it's an absolute stunning community of people. It's a really nice, easy game to play. You've learnt it in one lesson, and there's a bit of an addiction going on with the game at the club. So not many have stepped over because it's pickle tennis. So not many have stepped over from the dark side, but we have got a very big bunch of newcomers to the club. Which has been fantastic.
Yeah, and actually, that means that it's not cannibalizing your tennis players. It's all new, which is great news, really, isn't it? You're expanding your reach, not cannibalizing it, as I say.
Sorry, which club are you, Irene?
Tunbridge Wells Lawn Tennis Club.
Okay.
And you'll probably know that LTA are liaising with the councils on park courts to put either pickle or paddle out there. They've met with half a dozen of our clubs in Kent to talk that through. The council are very keen to use their funding to to regenerate the grass courts, the clay courts, should I say? No, the hard courts out in parks, which there are 6 of them here in Tunbridge Wells, to try and get those moving. I think they tried to get it open to tennis. That hasn't happened. So they're now I've got another meeting in a couple of weeks' time, and they're now talking either paddle or pickle on those locations. So
and Irene, how much do you charge for your pickleball? Do you charge like an annual membership or just a pay and play?
yeah, we both we struggled to start with, because obviously it's quite new, and we looked at the competitors out there. We only charge, and we couldn't really define the reason for a membership. So what we've now said, you can book your own courts, you can join in tournaments and things like that. So we're trying to define it so there is a benefit of people stepping into that, and it's only £85 a year. It's just a nominal fee, and then £6 and £8 to play pickle. Here we had to make it a little bit more expensive indoors. When we were in Bennett, when we were in a school to cover that, but I mean, I'm out playing it 3 or 4 times a week, which is bonkers. And throughout the whole of that winter period, when everyone's stuck indoors, you know, I'd never normally go out. Aaron, like you, I've probably done the Zumba and all of those things, but I probably wouldn't be tempted to go out of an evening to do those things. But I'm sorry that I'm addicted to it, and like the rest of them, I'm heading out that many times a week to play this mad sport. But it's a really, really, really great bunch of people as well. So, you know, I can't recommend enough that you should consider it in your clubs. It's
your programs. Yeah. All right, Irene, thank you. John, do you want to come in, John Ratcliffe?
Yeah, thanks very much, Andy. That was a fascinating presentation. Thank you very much for that. A number of questions here. I remember seeing pickleball back in 2012 on a visit to America, and I sat down. It was Thursday, and apparently pickleball is Thursday in America. All the courts seem to be taken over, and it was fascinating to watch. And I thought, this could take off. And it's interesting to look at the fact that since COVID, things have definitely changed. Paddle's taken off, pickleball's taking off. There is a definite change in the way that people are organising themselves socially and using technology. Very different to what before COVID. There's been a massive change, which I think we all have to recognise.
Yeah.
Just when I'm on, just to let people know, there is going to be quite a change coming in during the course of May, June. Depends when it goes through Parliament. But new planning laws are coming in. And the real focus behind those planning laws is to try and get more houses built. But there is a spin-off to sport. And that spin-off is that it's going to be easier to get planning permission for certain activities within inside sporting venues, of which paddle will benefit, pickleball where there are restrictions in terms of noise, and it is a noisy sport, but that's nothing to cry from it. But the other big thing for clubs inside the metropolitan area, the London area, is metropolitan open space could very easily go. There is a planning application in for a sports ground to develop 205 houses, and this will test the metropolitan open space requirement that it must always be that or replacing it. If that goes and that planning goes through, I'm afraid we're going to have to be very, very careful in the London area, because all metropolitan open space areas, including all our sports grounds, all our tennis facilities, which are within that area, are going to be subject to enormous push from developers to build on those. So we've got to watch that carefully. Going back to my question, the question is, well, 3 questions really. Simple one. I was down in Tankerton yesterday, and I walking down the front, I thought, what's that noise? I turned the corner, and it was pickleball. And I sat and watched for a few minutes what was going on, really, really to see. So my 3 questions are this. Have you come across, Karen, any problems in the country where clubs have found noise has been objected to by local residents? Secondly, easier one, is it a mini tennis net you use? And thirdly, is ClubSpark accepting bookings? Have they got a system that can be booked through ClubSpark?
Okay, so let me do it in reverse order. Club Spark, I believe that you can book pickleball on Club Spark now. I think it depends on how you set up your definitions. I mean, if you've got multi-use, so it's got tennis and pickleball, it may mean that they've got to book one court for pickleball, but you've got 4 or 2 courts or whatever. But Club Spark is being used across the country. Our club locates and many of the links for bookings are on Club Spark. So that one, yes. The first question was around noise. There have been a couple of complaints where the courts are too close to the houses. And there are ways to mitigate that. One of them is that there are some quiet paddles, and I believe that there's now a quiet ball, although I've not had a chance to test it myself. And the other thing is you can put acoustic pads around to try and address it as well. Now, I don't have a case study of where the complaint has happened and whether or not we've managed to overcome it, but I am aware of at least 2 where pickleball has been stopped because of complaints of noise. You know, same for padel. Padel's quite noisy as well, and I think that, you know, the real recommendation is, you know, if you've got choice of where you put these courts, make them the furthest away from any housing as possible. And I'm really sorry to say this, I think I might have forgotten your middle question. What was the middle one?
The net you use, is it the mini?
Oh,
is
yes,
it the
the
mini
net.
tennis net?
Yes.
Mini
No,
tennis
it's
net.
not. It's a pickleball net because
net.
it's got to go across the whole. A mini tennis net isn't quite big enough, and it's slightly taller, I think. A pickleball net is 36 inches both ends and 34 inches in the middle, and it goes beyond the width of the court, and so it's a pickleball specific one.
And it's portable.
They're not expensive. You can get them. It's portable. You can get them for about £125. They're not brilliant for windy conditions. So if you are an area with wind, a more permanent net is, you know, like a very sturdy net is probably the way to go. You know, you don't have to have a fixed net. It just be a sturdy one. They're more expensive. They're probably about 400 plus in cost.
Okay, thanks for the questions, John. Rob Sheath, over to you next. You're on mute, Rob.
Hi, thanks, Karen. And apologies that John's questions have sparked off some extra ones from you and for him. My main 2 things are the bounce and the noise that you've just discussed. So the bounce is we have only got artificial clay or grass, so it's obviously not going to work on grass. So a question for you, Andy, would you be able to get some people to trial your tarmac courts and your clay courts for me to see whether it's possible? Because I did have a little go myself, but because I've never really played pickle, I couldn't really tell. Unless Karen can say that artificial clay is definitely not the way, you know, you definitely can't use it.
I can't say artificial clay. I know we've tried on clay. I didn't actually know that there was an artificial clay. So whether or not it was artificial clay or regular clay, I have no idea. But on clay, the ball does not bounce sufficiently.
No.
So much so that the European Pickleball Championships are going to be at the big tennis arena in Rome, and they're all clay, and they're going to build up pickleball courts on top. So they're going to have, you know, wood underneath and things like that, and then put a pickleball surface on. So that's how you know significant it is that you can't play on clay. Now, I don't know whether those courts are artificial or regular. I would have thought they'd be regular clay. I can do a bit more research into it for you, but my guidance is no to clay.
I'll do a drop test for you, Rob, and I'll video it.
Yeah, well, I have done that. I did it because I borrowed some stuff from Bromley Tennis Centre.
Right.
And I had a hit with Luke House there. And then I had a hit with Wickham Park on the artificial clay. And I could really tell whether if you wouldn't mind getting a couple of your players just to play test it, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, no, fine. At this point, I wouldn't mind bringing James Brown in, James, if this is okay. I mean, you're such a strong advocate for pickleball and walking tennis down in Whitstable. James, would you just like to share your story down there, please?
Yeah, sure. Hi. Strange enough, I was the guy making the noise yesterday. It's just, well, I'm part of the noise, I guess. Yeah, it was us playing at the Whitstable Lawn Tennis Club pickleball courts. So I think it was John, was it?
Yes,
who was
yes.
walking past. Yeah,
I
you should have
enjoyed
come.
it. It was very
You
good.
could have come and played.
Well, I had my wife with me and she wouldn't let me.
Fair point. Yeah, so well, we've developed it a couple of years ago. We have 2 pickleball courts on a single tennis court, but by the end of this month, we will have a second tennis court with also 2 pickleball courts on it. So we will have 4. Really, just everything that Karen said, I totally agree with. I understand. We're passionate about pickleball. We're passionate about tennis. We're passionate about walking tennis. We do all 3. We have a single membership. You can mix and match, do whatever you like. Yeah, I mean, there's 1 or 2 people, obviously, who are stalwarts of a tennis fraternity who prefer tennis to pickleball, but you're going to get that, vice versa, etc. But we all rub along together pretty well. I would ask Karen one question, and this is a worry for me a little bit. With regard to playing pickleball outside, you mentioned playing up to approximately 15-mile-per-hour winds. Well, in Whitstable, it's unusual for us not to have a 15-mile-per-hour wind. We actually have a sort of figure of 20-mile-per-hour, which is fine. Well,
That's
you
fine.
say it's fine, Karen, but the difficulty is it's fine for 1 or 2 of us. But for an awful lot of people, actually, when it goes over 18, 19, it becomes particularly difficult, particularly if, for instance, if you're lacking mobility, you're slightly infirm, etc. And we are losing, I think this has been mentioned before, we are losing some players who now want to play indoors and not necessarily just over the winter. They find the indoors is far more conducive to an enjoyable experience. I just wondered if other people had any other comments on that, because it's a little bit of a concern for me with outside pickleball.
You know, there's nothing nicer than playing outside, particularly when it's a sunny day. You know, I played all weekend this weekend because the weather was just gorgeous, you know. And one of the days, towards the end of the day, it got a little bit breezy, nothing that you couldn't deal with. But I have no doubt I would not have been playing indoors over that weekend. You know, it's the outdoors that was attracting me, you know. But I guess if wind is particularly strong, then, you know, that might be a little off-putting. Is there anything you can do around the courts to try and protect yourself a little bit from that wind?
There are, yeah, there is netting you can buy. It partially works. My concern is more that if you're paying a membership fee and you can only play for, say, 3 to 4 months of the year outside regularly, how many people are going to be prepared to pay that fee?
Right.
Yeah, I would just say that. Yeah, I'll just say the clubs just need to be a bit active in taking this to their local hall or something, or community centre. So rather than let the community centre run with it, try and, as a tennis club, trying to run and organise it really. So you're in control of your membership a bit, really.
And it has been muted, and it's a very tricky thing to do. Because it's not your courts, it's not part of your club. You're having a third party involved. We have groups now who go off and pay the village hall or whatever it might be. It's difficult for the committee then to say, well, actually, we'll fund it or we'll be involved with it. It's just not going to happen, I don't think.
No,
I take your point. We have got to be inventive.
Yeah. No, great. Any more questions for Karen at all? Rob, have you got another hand up, or is that the old one?
Yeah, no, that's a new one.
Okay.
Yeah, so the other thing is the noise, and from what John said, do you need to have planning permission to play pickleball on your tennis courts?
I'm not aware that you have to have planning permission. Certainly, I checked into it for building my court behind me, and I didn't need planning permission. But there are some rules in some areas, so I think that it's an area by area, because I know that someone's building a pickleball court in their garden and they have to have planning permission. So I think that it might be council by council that you need to check into for that. But if there's already tennis or other sports established, I don't think you have to have planning permission, because all it is a surface that you're putting down. You're not putting any structure down in terms of fencing or lighting or anything like that. You're just putting lines down, basically.
Yeah, because actually, I was just about to press the button on doing pickleball, but I'm also hoping to get some more floodlighting, and it's right next to the neighbour's house. So that slowed me up with pickleball, because I didn't want to annoy the neighbours, because I want to keep him on sides for when I go for planning permission for floodlighting.
Yeah, floodlighting definitely needs planning permission. Yeah.
Well, it's just not. I don't want to annoy the neighbours with pickleball noise, because I want to keep them on side. So,
are you quite close to houses then?
Yeah, about 3 foot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh dear.
And the other question for John said about the metropolitan area. Does that cover BR? Or
that covers everything inside the M25.
Probably will do. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's where clubs don't own their own land. If you've got a lease with somebody else, I mean, our lease is with the golf club, and I know what's going to happen when that lease comes to an end. They're going to want it back if they can build something on the land that we're on, because to them it's a lot of money. So these are things in the future, but we must be aware of them, because it's going to have a big impact on sport. I fear for sport, not just tennis, football, the whole lot in the inner London area, if this goes through. And this test case is approved. It's a real worry. Can I just come back on the noise issue?
I've just got one more question, if I may. Karen, if I felt that it was something that we might go ahead with, would it be worthwhile having a taster, even though it's on artificial clay? England.
I don't think that clay is going to work, Rob, but let Andy do that.
Rob, I'll do a little video for you first, because you don't want to be wasting too many people's time, really.
We're happy to do taster sessions, but I don't really want to get people out for a surface that might not work, because you don't want people to think, oh, what's this game, it's not working on this surface. Plus these are all volunteers, so I don't really want to be putting them somewhere where it's not really going to pan out, right?
Okay, over to you then, Andy, for the testing.
Yeah, thank you, John. Very quickly,
just very quickly come back on the noise issue. I think that I've got the answer on this one. Although you are a tennis club, you're changing your activity. So my advice would be to inform the local planning office of what you intend to do, to seek their permission to do it. If they say you have to put in a planning application, then you have to do it. But the key thing is, if you don't say anything and one of your local residents objects, the council will close it down until you put in planning permission to do the new activity. That's what will happen.
Okay, we'll look into that. I know we had the same problem with portable lights at our club, where we've put them up, but we do know that if we do get residential confrontation, that we potentially might have to take them down and apply for planning permission. So probably the same applies to that maybe as well. But no, thanks very much, Karen. That's a brilliant presentation. Thanks very much. You can tell by the amount of people on today's coffee morning. It was something that was a topic that we needed to talk about, really. So thanks very much.
Thank you for inviting me. And John, I think you're absolutely right about the threat to sport with that new planning. So I think we all have to push in the same direction to make that not become a reality, that we lose space for sport.
Thank you, Karen. Stay on.
Thank you so much for having me, everyone.
Yeah, no, fine, thank you. I just want to mention that it's Volunteers Week from the 2nd of June. We're going to do similar like we did last year. So if you have got volunteers at your club, that deserve a bit of recognition, please write into Kent Tennis just with a brief description of why they should be given this recognition, and we will send them a beautiful framed certificate. It's probably out of focus, I can probably tell. But anyway, it's a beautiful framed certificate. We will send this physically to the volunteer of your choice. So I'm sure there's all, you know, people doing great work at your clubs up and down the county. So just give them a bit of recognition, right into Kent Tennis. Let us know briefly why they need that recognition, and we will send them a framed a volunteering award to them, please. And then finally, we've got Give, Set and Match that's been introduced by the LTA. So between April and September this year, we're asking tennis venues to hold a competition. It could be an American tournament, but 50% of that player entry will be donated to the LTA Tennis Foundation, and that's to support life-changing work that they're doing. So, you know, if you are thinking of running an American tournament between April and September, then please give 50% to the Tennis Foundation. That would be absolutely fantastic if you could do that. Thanks very much. Back over to you, Janice.
Yes, so just to say thank you everyone for joining us today. It's been a great session. Our next coffee morning is on Tuesday the 10th of June, where we'll be taking pride into the tennis and paddle venues. We've got Ian Pearson-Brown joining us, who will be giving us an abridged version of the Rally Alleys workshop. So do feel free to join us on that. Spread the word, invite your members. So the more the merrier. So we look forward to seeing you all again on the 10th of June. So bye for now. Enjoy your week.
Bye.
Janice, can I hijack Tom Freeman?
Bye, Janice. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thanks very much. Thanks for attending. Karen, just stay on a second.
Okay.
Bye.
Can I hijack